Welcome to Psyche Magic, a podcast about waking up to the subconscious via our nocturnal dreams. I'm your host, Jordan Hale. I'm a psychotherapist based in Nashville, Tennessee. Together, we'll learn to befriend the unknown and her deep well of wisdom. While aspects of this podcast may feel therapeutic, it is never meant to take the place of therapy. Welcome back to Psyche Magic. I hope you're easing your way into my absolute favorite season, autumn. This episode will air around the autumn equinox, when the wheel of the year turns yet again and we enter a time of waning light and inwardness, a time when the underworld is active and our dreams can really come alive. I'm looking forward to visiting some farmers markets, seeking pumpkins, root vegetables because it's soup season, and of course, apple cider donuts. As far as news for the show, thank you to everyone who checked out our season premiere, Psychedelic Dreams with Robert DeSalvo, LCSW. It got a really great response, and I'm excited to keep the conversation going with him as this exciting arm of the field continues to unfold. On the Patreon, I released a mini-sode entitled Herbs and Plant Partners for Dream Work last week. So head on over and check it out if you're interested. An extra special shout out to my very first patron, Duncan Banks. The next Patreon minisode comes from my conversation with today's guest, Dream Rituals. This is essentially enacting an element from a dream in the real world as a sort of offering and acknowledgement to the subconscious that we're listening. Today's episode has me thinking about how vital our inner world becomes during the darker, quieter seasons. This, of course, leads me into that persistent obsession of mine. What happens to our creativity during this time of year? I am lucky enough to have found a doctor who is a brilliant MD and also an integrative medicine practitioner. Shout out to Dr. Amy Price Neff here in Nashville. She's the first doctor I've ever had who I feel truly listens to me. Treatment always feels collaborative and effective. I could go into a whole diatribe about my frustrations with the medical industry here in the US, but I will save that for another day. What I want to share today is that last time I visited Dr. Neff, she asked me how my mental health had been. I gave her what I like to think was a thorough and nuanced answer, but what she latched onto surprised me. She said that when she asks this question, she always listens for whether her adult patients are exercising their sense of imagination and creativity. If yes, she sees this as a marker to indicate someone who is feeling fulfilled. I had never thought of that direct correlation in such simple terms, but it really was a light bulb moment for me. If we are being creative, we are hanging out in the upper segments of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We are safe, secure, and stable, and able to shift our focus towards the area of self-actualization. I recently watched the documentary The Last Movie Stars about Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, directed by Ethan Hawke, which I highly recommend if you're a fellow cinephile. I wound up revisiting a TED Talk Ethan did in 2020 about creativity. One of my key takeaways was his echoing of this message, that creativity is not frivolous, it is essential. We need to tell our stories through our creative work in order to remind each other that we have more in common than we might think. But we must know ourselves in order to express ourselves. Asking yourself what you love, what moves you, and then finding ways to move closer to what you love in small ways in your daily life and habits. This is how we begin to heal ourselves and each other. So, if we want to help our community, our family, our friends, we must find ways to express ourselves. Civil rights and queer rights activist, writer, and professor Audre Lorde says it best, quote, "Poetry is not only dream and vision, it is the skeleton architecture of our lives. It lays the foundations for a future of change, a bridge across our fears of what has never been before." Unquote. This brings me to today's guest, Tranyce Bryant, who is truly a pillar of the Nashville and especially the East Nashville community. Tranyce describes herself as host of True Talks podcast, owner of Let's Talk Gardening, District 8 Beautification Commissioner, observer of nature, and student of life. Tranyce is someone who lives into Audre's words. She is brave enough to learn publicly, generous enough to share her process and not just the final product, and is constantly creating in service of her community. She is a trailblazing Taurus, and I'm thrilled to have had the opportunity to talk with her today. I hope you enjoy our conversation as much as I did. All right, Tranyce, welcome to Psyche Magic. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me, Jordan. I'm excited to be here.
Yay! Tranyce, you know that I'm a big fan of your work and your community engagement. You are such a pillar of the Nashville community. So I am thrilled and honored that you wanted to be on my show. So yay.
Listen, I'm a fan of Psyche Magic, so I am all game for going on this journey with you. Like I said, I'm excited to be here, and it was so dope when we last connect. So happy to see your face again, you know?
Happy to see you too, Tranyce.
Yeah.
It's been a while, honestly. Yeah. It feels like a lot of life has happened in between.
I hope so.
I know. So I'm excited to have this as an opportunity to just catch up in general. Like, that's always fun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Tranyce, I know we're going to have a lot to talk about. So I think we should dive in with our little tarot moment, if that's okay with you.
Okay, let's go.
While you were kind of getting ready, I was shuffling and just kind of like feeling and just setting that intention of just a little guidance, just a little bit of guidance for the conversation. On your show, True Talks, one of my favorite aspects is that you like the conversation to be really organic. And I completely agree. Yeah. I really dislike when interview shows feel like they're already all scripted out. I just feel like you're missing out on so much spontaneity. So I like to treat tarot the same way. So let's see what comes up.
Okay. Should I cross my fingers for this? Pull something really good. I don't know how this goes.
Hey, if you feel like it, that's cool. There's a lot of nervousness around tarot. And I think usually when we pull the card, a lot of that just kind of washes away and we can just be curious together. So let's see what comes up.
It's not the act itself for me. I think my nerves derive from like me not being that vulnerable of a person. So you're revealing something. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're going there.
Like someone is going to see something about me. I'm going to feel seen in a way that might be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I'm open to it. You caught me at a time where I'm very open in life. So
awesome. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, Tranyce, we pulled a really cool card. So this is the 8 of Pentacles. Okay. So I'm going to give you a nice, good look at that so that you can just kind of take it in. And
Nice.
I'm going to describe this card to the audience. So this is someone working on a bench, hammering these little discs. So these are the pentacle discs. The pentacles in the suit of tarot refers to the realm of the material world, behavior, things that we can see and touch, like physical things that create safety, security, stability. So he's hammering these little discs and he's posting them up onto a tree. And so there are 8 total. He's removed from, you can see like in the background, there's a castle, there's like a little town, and he's really far away from all of that as he's just focused on his work and just doing what needs to be done, away from all the hustle and the bustle of the city. Yes, this card is a very, very active card. So, okay, Tranyce, what comes up for you when you see this? Like what does it make you think of?
A lot of transitions are occurring right now. And so I have been quite open to people about, like, before I used to chase the dollar. I would sign up for jobs because it would offer me a sense of security, and it'll make me meet to an end, or an end to meet, whatever. Y'all get the point.
We know.
Yeah. Trying to make ends meet, essentially. And so now I'm really honing in on what am I here to do and what aligns with that, even from a career standpoint. So the stability thing, that's something that pops up as a tourist. I like stability. Okay. Yes. I love stability. Let me reframe that.
Like, yes, like material, like I can see it, I can touch it. Yes.
And for me, the fact that it's being, pinned to something that's so stationary, a tree, man, like, come on, I love that. I'm rooted in things that are going to be here regardless of what my outcome in life is. But the focus on not the material things, but what my intention is, I'm very big on that. So it's speaking to me in a lot of different ways. Maybe off mic, I will share with you an opportunity that has presented itself that just a couple of hours ago, I was kind of going back and forth on. It's like, yo, yeah, you tapping the chin here.
You're like, there's something going on here. Well, I love what you said about like the rootedness of the tree being incorporated in this work. So this is not just about me as myself, as an individual. This is also about like blending with the world around me and creating that foundation using all of the resources available to me. So that's like really powerful. And I'm glad that you're feeling that shift of, it's not just material for material's sake. It's not just money for money's sake, but it's like the value of my time itself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because like, that's the thing that I think everyone has in common is wanting stability, right? It's emotional, physical or financial journey. But this pandemic has kind of upended us in a way that has questioned what our motives have been behind things. And I believe people are more aware right now of what it is they want and what they're willing to give up for. And so I've always been that way. I'll be honest with you. I tell people I make a horrible employee because I don't stay where I don't feel like I need to. So that means I can clock in right now and clock out in the next second if I feel like I'm not supposed to be there and I'm not getting anything from it. So my journey career-wise is being very unstable when it comes to a 9-to-5, but it's been consistent as an entrepreneur. And so I'm just trusting a lot of things that don't necessarily make sense, but moving in that wavelength and that energy. Hopefully it pans out or we'll have a separate conversation.
I know. Exactly. Like those kinds of steps feel like those leap of faith moments kind of over and over again. Right. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Let's Talk Gardening is feeling pretty good now, though.
Okay, can you please tell us a little bit about that, Tranyce? Like personally, I got really into gardening during the pandemic, and I'm surprised because I'm someone who tends to hobby hop a lot. I get real excited about something for like a month and then I don't care anymore. However, this has stuck around for me. I'm still super interested. I know. So tell us about Let's Talk Gardening and how that has sort of evolved, built, grown for you. Walk us through that, please.
Yeah. It truly feels like me having fun, because at the core of it is teaching. And that's something that I've always, even informally, I tell people, growing up, I was always the kid that required other kids around me to do things, even in the summer, academic base. Like we would have to read up to a certain chapter before we can play, or let's paint, let's draw what we see, let's do some things before actually just getting behind a screen of any kind. Now, I'm a 90s kid, so I'm probably a part of the last generation that is used to going over at someone's house and sitting on the porch for hours with no cell phone.
Yeah.
That type of disconnect. So at the core of Let's Talk Gardening has always been teaching. I started off with collaborating with local gardeners, showing people how they can grow within their space and how others were doing that, maximizing their harvest. So we would showcase garden tours.
Yeah.
And that has evolved into me giving demos and also a service now, an LLC. I didn't anticipate it being that, but it turned into that when people wanted to purchase my organic plants. And then I started offering services along with that. So we host consultations so that hopefully the consultation for me is a one and done. I don't mind you paying me to come and show you what's possible or to give you some type of blueprint to craft the type of garden you want. But my objective is for you to learn it so you can do it yourself.
That's right. That's right. It's like the teach a man to fish thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, teach a person to fish.
Yeah. My mom would be like, don't tell somebody you knocking yourself out of money. I'm like, for me, it's about teaching you so that you can do it yourself. I much rather do that because for me, business is only as successful if you can remove yourself out of the equation and it continues on.
Exactly. That's true sustainability.
Yeah.
It's not just dependence, it's interdependence.
Yeah, that's true.
That's beautiful, Tranyce. And that says so much about your personal passion and direction here. This really matters to you. It's not just a money grab. This is what you really care about.
It's not. I tell people I know that doesn't make sense coming from someone who's getting paid to be here with you, but literally I'd prefer to give you this blueprint and you to ask me questions, follow-up questions. I can come back out here and show you something new, but I don't want to come out here and do the work for you as often as you doing it yourself and getting the learning and hands-on experience.
Because that is what's central to your mission, is that there are more people in our community who can grow their own food. What a beautiful, empowering thing.
Yeah. And see, a lot of people felt very lost during the pandemic because there was food shortages.
I know.
And so that's why people started gravitating to trying to learn anything about gardening, even if it was just a herb that they didn't even use. So let me grab some basil and see what happens. Yeah. So I tell people, start where you are. That's a big thing because a lot of people think it takes a lot of space. You have to have land. No, I started out of a bay window, very small, could only hold maybe 5 or 6 pots. And I grew from there. But even when I got outside, I didn't have access to my aunt's front or backyard. So I would grow in a driveway out of containers. And eventually during the pandemic, somehow I managed to get her to agree to allow me to install some raised beds. So
little by little, chipping away.
Yeah, I got 2 raised beds out of the situation. And I really showed people how I grew a lot of stuff in that small space.
That's right.
And that's what it's about. You're never going to have all of what you need at the time that you need it or feel that you do. Just use what you already have and make it work.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. That is the message people need to hear, is that you can do a lot with just a little bit of space and a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Look, I get that message tuning in to Psyche Magic, man. Some of your conversations with your guests are just powerful. Even the dreaming. I love that you are putting in here the meditation practices and stuff.
Nice.
Because I'm a binge listener. So I go through listening to episodes.
Get in the mode with one show. Yeah, I do that too, actually.
Yeah. For every podcast I support, and Psyche Magic is definitely one of them that I do that. So the meditation, I come off of meditation and go into, someone sharing with us some of their dreams or how they interpret things. And it's mind blowing what you get from it. But that message comes out in your podcast as well.
Thank you, Tranyce. That means a lot coming from you, really a lot. Okay.
You're welcome.
Do you want to talk about dreams?
Okay. Okay,
Are you
let's do
ready?
this.
Are
Our
you
last
ready?
conversation about dreams was, it was insightful. So
Yes,
let's
so
go.
this was on your show, and I remember that you had a couple of like really specific kind of topics that you were interested in. Do you want to revisit any of those now? Like, have any of those sort of evolved for you, or do you want to go in a different direction? Like, I'm open to whatever you want to do.
Let's go in a different direction because I think I got the answers I needed out of those.
Yes.
I've seen that come to full circle now.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, what's been going on in your dream world? Is there anything you want to share?
You know what's reoccurring for me is storms. Storms and bridges. So more recently, the one that's coming to mind right now, I don't know if I DM'd you about this or not a while back, but I had an old professor to show up in my dream.
Okay.
I had people that I knew around me in this dream and were on this, kind of dilapidated pandemonium type of bridge. It was just falling apart over water. We were in a storm. And for whatever reason, I was having trouble hanging on. I eventually went into the water. I can't swim. I've always jumped in the water like I can. So I'm not like super fearful of falling in water per se, like maybe even a small pond or a swimming pool. But this was a river, y'all. So I was nervous.
Yes, exactly.
I knew if I fell in, I wouldn't be able to help myself.
Yes.
But I fell in and I tried something out. I just started imitating what I saw in movies or whatnot. And it worked. Me flaring my arms and legs. And for whatever reason, I was able to remain on the surface, but I still needed help getting out of it. And that help didn't come. I mean, people were helping others who had fallen in because that part of the bridge had went into the river, but it didn't help. It didn't come. Somehow that dream transitioned into me being in a classroom, and
interesting.
There was an officer there, and there was also a white peer. I don't know how, but this girl managed to get a rock and bust the window, and she had been in the water apparently because she was soaked. And she stepped away from the scene, like left the classroom. And I was in there like trying to figure out, okay, where did she get the rock from and how can we fix this window? But by the time I was left by the window, it looked like I had did it because I was also wet. I had just came out of the river. I just didn't see the transition of how. And the officer saw me and it was all put on me, So I know that that's dealing directly with how verbal I am about and how intentional I am about connecting with officers and being honest about my distrust there. But the rest of it, not receiving help, feeling like I jumped into something or I fell into something that could have ended my life, but I tried, and I got out of it. I don't know how. But then I dealt with this, This particular professor I haven't connected with, but he was one of my favorite like college professors. But I know why he appeared in my dream. I can't speak on it, but share that with you off mic. But
there's a distinct,
there's a connection there.
Yes, connection. Well, and then okay, so the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the fact that this was a body of water that was already inherently unsafe, right? Like knowing that this was the type of water that it was a river, it was deep, it was unpredictable. Like there's that knowing that this is not going to be a comfortable situation. And so what I think is really interesting is that you found what you needed by just acting as if, like by just faking it until you made it. You were able to imitate things that you had seen other people do. And this was what helped you just sort of get to the place that you needed to be. And I think that's really interesting. I think about that a lot in terms of people who are community engagers, people who are activists. There's so much power to be had in looking to others and looking to what others are doing and what others have done in the past and not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are other people out there who are doing great work and we can look to them. So that's interesting that was something that you tapped into in this dream. However, the part that maybe feels a little bit more fraught and like unresolved is the part where you felt like you needed help and that help just wasn't arriving. Like that there was this feeling of, oh, even though I need help right now, I'm going to have to do this by myself. Like it's the only way out.
Right.
I also think it's interesting that you got out of it, but that you didn't see how in the dream. It was like, you know, in a movie where you're in one scene and then all of a sudden it just cuts and now you're somewhere else, right? Like, yeah. So you didn't actually get to see the process of like how that happened. There was no resolution in that regard. You know,
you putting it like that is making sense now.
It's interesting and curious to me because dreams always are meant to show us things that we don't already know or don't already understand. And so there's something about this dream that is really just doubling down on the mystery, like doubling down on the fact that I'm not going to get an answer here, a clear answer here. There's just this sense of like, I will find a way.
Oh man, that ain't life for you.
I know.
But
I know.
Seasons like, oh, can I get something, you know, answered, a clear cut answer?
Well, yeah, that would be so soothing. Like that would be so helpful. And yet that's just so often not the way it works. I wanted to talk about the classroom section a little bit more. So what was interesting about this section is that there was an element here of that feeling. And now you mentioned that dealing with the police is a fraught subject, right? Like as someone in the Black community, this is going to be fraught. This is going to be difficult. Side note, Tranyce has an episode of her podcast where she interviews an officer in the wake of the George Floyd murder. And it's one of the most powerful things I've heard. Everyone should go and listen. It's a very nuanced conversation about all the things that were missing during that day, the communication that was missing during that day. So that's just a side note that everyone should go and check that out on Tranyce's True Talks feed. But so Tranyce, you said that this is something that right away you knew that this was an important element of the dream, is that distrust. Was there anything else that you wanted to say about that part? Because I think that's really interesting.
Thank you for mentioning that episode.
Yes.
That's one that I replay often to learn from, because I was speaking from an emotional standpoint and I feel like I didn't articulate the best version of me, but I showed up, you know?
Exactly.
And that's one of those moments where if I could, the old me would have tried to correct it, would have tried to softball it, would have tried to, you know, appear in a more dignified manner, for a lack of a better word, because I didn't appear less dignified, but just internally, I feel like it wasn't the best version of me. I'm well versed, I'm well spoken. Yeah. I can get very specific about what I mean. And at that time, I was just like, hey, I am this person. I feel this way. So it definitely was one of those that I'm still learning from today. But when it comes to that dream, I've been working closely with the East Precinct here.
Okay.
Yeah, for this area. Yeah, I've been initiating the conversations. I've been initiating contact in a way that they haven't had from this community. And this is a community that has a major distrust with them. To share a little bit about an experience we had on the very first community event that I hosted here was a community cleanup. This area's never had that before.
Now, Tranyce, which area is this?
This is East Nashville. So right in like behind Hart Lane, headed towards Trinity Lane, right near the Oakwood Flats new establishment.
Nashville folks, y'all know where this is. Yes.
Yeah. It's the real East Nashville.
That's right.
Shepherdwood, formerly known as Shepherdwood, but it's been retitled as something else. But what's going around is Friends of Oakwood Park. But nonetheless, I hosted a cleanup and the East Precinct showed their support. Yeah. You know, sometimes you invite community coordinator from your precinct out. They kind of make some runs to make sure everything goes smoothly. You're not experiencing any issue with speeding or anything like that as you're trying to clean up. Well, they came out to do that, and lo and behold, they had their experience with the way the community views them. This particular officer approached me. People in the neighborhood saw me walk up to the park, and I like to station the supplies at the entrances. So they saw me doing that, and they knew I hadn't did anything.
Right.
But they perceived our interaction as the officer harassing me because he pulled over. And I wasn't, this didn't make it any better. I was kneeling to tie the bag to the entrance post. So it looked like he was standing over me and kind of ordering that I stay put, because I was still talking with him from that angle. And I mean, it caused like a lot of friction. It caused a lot of panic in people who perceived it a certain way that it wasn't. I had a neighbor to approach us, which he's approaching this officer from the back, walking up and asking me if I'm okay.
Yes.
And I'm waving him back now, trying to watch out for this officer because he hasn't did anything wrong, and also de-escalate the tension that I'm detecting from onlookers and neighbors who have watched me my entire life. I'm born and raised from here. So they know my character. And he's like, "Are you good?" I'm reassuring them, but telling them to stay put. Like, don't escalate this situation. Like, hey, I'm fine. We're just talking. He didn't even trust me telling him I was fine. He came down to my aunt's house to get my mom and my aunt and let them know. And what he told them was that the police has your baby on the ground. And now my mom is making her way up, my aunt, and even my neighbors who are older are making their way up there. And it's like all of this tension because of something that occurred publicly. We can't turn away from it.
Yes.
And also there being a long-lasting distrust there. It's been a disconnect, and it's only going to take one incident or several others to make us feel as though this is possible in our neighborhood.
Yes.
And it was a moment where I was able to speak directly with that officer and saying, hey, see, you heard me reassure him that everything was fine. But because you wear that badge, he still didn't trust my reassurance. Like, I can't even get through to him. And this is an issue because it was right after the incident that happened with the young man. Was it Elijah? I want to say it may have been Elijah.
Yeah.
So people were still feeling some kind of way. So this is long after George Floyd, but another incident had occurred. And this was the weekend of that. I'm like, had I thought about it, I probably wouldn't have hosted it.
Might have waited, but still.
But it was meant to be.
Exactly, because these are triggers. This is trauma.
Right.
This is the exact way that trauma plays out. But generationally in a community, there are these moments where everyone is in that fight or flight, like that, just hyper vigilant. Oh no, like something's wrong. Something's terribly wrong. And we're so scared.
Yeah. I mean, and it takes work. And, I've been spearheading a lot of stuff, and I'm not the type that likes to say what I've been doing. I just do it. And so
yeah.
I think that all of that is caught up with me in terms of, how hard I'm going at being a fixer. I have to say everything requires you to fix it. And then there's this unspoken level of burdensome that comes along with doing that. Like, people don't tell you how, you grow fatigue being an activist, but they don't tell you how you feel less than, you feel you're not working fast enough. When you encounter a problem in a community where you're on the ground and you're doing the work and everybody's not showing up.
I know.
I mean, it's oftentimes I'm not unfamiliar with walking alone. I can do that with ease. But in this season, I feel called to be more community oriented and connect with others and be resourceful and ask for help. And in the times where I'm doing that, I'm still not receiving the amount of help that, I feel like I would give to someone else. But I've learned a lesson a long time ago. You can't expect the help that you would give out of someone else. They're not built that way. But what do you do when you need help, right?
Well, there's your dream, Tranyce. Like, there's your dream.
That's what I'm saying. You hitting on some stuff that I didn't think about. Yeah.
That's you in the water trying to navigate, like, how do we actually help each other when there's so much fear?
Yeah. And not only that, how do you help your strong friends, because it's hard to ask for help. I'm one that people come to. It's very hard, but I'm asking. And, I must say, man, to my friends out there, I'm going to shout some folks out real quick because they've been lovely.
Good.
They've been some accountability partners. They've been encouragers when I've needed. They've been people that have said, I just want to hold space for you. I don't want to offer advice. I just want to listen.
No, just be there.
So my boy Ryan, right off the bat, my girl Kelly, man, y'all have been gold. And if I'm someone that's vulnerable enough to do that with you, man, y'all know y'all can get the last off of my plate. But that's how I feel like people who are strong, that are oftentimes helpers, get help. You find your people, you find your tribe.
That makes so much sense, Tranyce. Like, as a community leader, there has to be that level of being able to ask for support.
Yeah. It's not comfortable, but it needs to be done. Yeah.
No, I know. Well, it's the only way it can be. I'm looking at the 8 of Pentacles now. Like,
oh God,
it's the only way.
Card.
I know. It's the only way that your work can be sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah, because, that's the fatigue people are familiar with, and people just throwing the towel in. But my throw the towel in is reevaluating where I am exerting energy that is not given back to me in a way that I can even receive it because it's not useful to me. It's more of a task. I need an energy that's exchangeable, that is giving freely and moves in a free manner and not fixated on me having to perform or do things. I just need energy that's just good. If I'm giving good, I should receive good, and I should expect it in abundance. I shouldn't limit myself based off of, ego or whatever people perceive my actions as. I'm just here to help because I know this life is bigger than me.
Yep. Powerful. Like, this is now back to that sort of trusting mindset, is that even in the moments where it feels like really hard to come by, you can trust that there are people in this community that see you and that want to stand with you, rally around you.
Yeah.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. I am delighted to announce that Psyche Magic is now on Patreon. This podcast is a labor of love and an independent operation. If you're like me, supporting independent arts is deeply meaningful and a source of pride. If you decide to become a patron of this podcast, know that you'll be helping to keep the lights on, allowing me to pay my team a fair wage, which as of now consists of myself and my amazing editor, Misuzu Inaga, and offsetting the financial and energetic costs of making the show. If you've been to my website, you also know that a portion of any proceeds from this podcast will go towards community-based organizations that support LGBTQ youth, such as the Oasis Center here in Nashville. By joining us on Patreon, you'll gain access to our bi-weekly bonus minisodes with meditations and exercises to enhance your dream work practices. This season, bonus minisodes will also feature custom healing frequency music by Misuzu Inaga herself to soothe your mind, body, and soul as you listen. You'll also receive detailed show notes for each full episode, as well as shout-outs by name during the show. Bonus content for season 1 will remain free to all. If you aren't able to join the Patreon, there are still plenty of ways to support the show. You can share your favorite episodes with friends and loved ones, subscribe to us so you never miss an episode, and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. You can also subscribe to our newsletter via our website so that you'll be the first to hear about new episodes, relevant articles and content, as well as fun interactive events I am planning for this season and beyond. Speaking of interactive events, I am trying something new this season. If you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, you'll automatically be entered to win a free virtual 20-minute shadow work tarot session with yours truly. Together, we will pull cards and discuss their symbolic meaning, much like we do here on the show. Winners will be drawn at random at the end of each month. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to continue to watch our little community blossom. I want to give you all a heads up about a podcast I am really enjoying right now. Leadership School with life coach Kyla Kofer explores all facets of leadership, including conflict resolution, boundaries, self-care, purpose, and courage. I am particularly taken with her emphasis on leading from the inside out, with an emphasis on nurturing the inner leader, making their purposeful work feel enriching and sustainable. I've taken away a lot of helpful wisdom from this show in terms of running my own businesses in a way that invigorates me instead of draining me. I hope you'll check it out. Leadership School is available on all podcasting platforms. You can also check out their website, leadershipschoolpodcast.com. It's now hitting me differently that a part of your dream also took place in a classroom, because you were teaching us earlier about how that's another really important part of your work and the way that you show up in the world is sort of that like student becoming the teacher, like transition, and the kind of, emotional and very real hurdles there are for you in making that shift, like in like sort of being able to step into that.
Yeah. And a little known fact to some closest to me, man, I hate being told that I'm intelligent or smart. It makes me uncomfortable because at one point in my life, that was kind of used against me, and that if you're intelligent enough to understand certain things, and you are intelligent enough to understand all things. And so that left little room for me to go, well, when I'm saying that I don't understand it,
I need help.
Right. No one teaches. So eventually I just have to self-teach or learn it from what I deem as credible. But what is credibility? That's when age passes, you're able to evaluate that a little bit more. So what I understood as credibility at 12 is not going to be the same at 28.
Of course.
So it's some things I'm unpacking that I taught myself and things that I adjusted because it just wasn't a presence there to teach that. I don't like that feeling of being told that I'm smart and intelligent, but I'm circling back to accepting and embracing that as a quality that I'm trusted with. The whole classroom thing, it's uncomfortable because a lot of things that I'm being opportunities presenting itself is calling for me to do that. I'm always the person people come to speak, to be up front and center. And I am really an introvert, Jordan. Like a lot of my closest
I get it.
I will tell you, I am unplugged. I'm an introvert. I'm what they consider the whole introverted, extroverted, whatever they call it.
I actually heard someone recently put it this way, and I really liked it. They said, I am an extroverted presenting introvert.
Oh, yes.
Like I can act like an extrovert.
Yes. But you follow me. I'm posting where I'm out in the woods. I'm off to myself any chance I get.
Recharging.
Where are we right now? I'm in my car, chilling.
I know.
This is where I like to be because it's my parameters, my barrier space. Like if I'm in my car, even if it looks like I'm not doing anything because I'm meditating or something, just leave me alone for a little bit. When I step out the car, it's fair game that you can approach, and I'm here,
Yeah.
I make that connection because the classroom and the dream is like, man, I'm having to sit in these positions now because some parts of me feel like not everything is written down. It's up here and I have to teach it.
Yeah.
Because I know that's a part of my calling. I know it.
Yes. In therapy, we talk a lot about like the true self, like that part of us that represents sort of like our highest self, our most honest self. And so when you say like, I just know that this is part of what I'm supposed to be doing, that feels very like self energy to me, Yeah. It's just true. Like, I just know.
We are beautiful people, man. We really are.
Yes, definitely. Oh, can I ask you? So I didn't want to forget about this detail of the dream. Can I ask you about the glass in the classroom? Like associate a little bit about the glass. I guess when I ask you to associate, I mean that when you think of glass and glass being broken in that way, what are the first like things that come to mind?
I shared a meme the other day that I came across, and I love these memes now. I used to have a hate relationship with them because I'm like, it's always a little true, but it's mostly not true, But there was one part that was like, oh, how did it go? Man, I don't want to mess it up. Let me pull it up.
Find it.
Yeah, because I don't want to mess it up. It was so good, but I had so many responses once I posted it in my stories about it. But this may relate to the glass and why it appeared, because right now, like I said, I'm going through a lot of transitions in life, and acceptance is one of them, and just walking in my full self. I feel like disconnected with that a little. Okay, here we go. I posted on here. It says, you deserve to be loved without having to hide parts of yourself that you think are unlovable.
Oh my God.
And I think the glass shattering, I think that the help not coming, and I think the tumultuous waters in the storm itself. I think all of that connects with that. We hide parts of ourselves, right? Because it's acceptable and it's what's deemed as lovable based off of that person's perception of where acceptance should lie when you look at a person, but it's all conditional. And I don't think any of us were birthed into this world under conditions.
No.
We are free-forming spirits and we experience transition along this journey of life. Right. If we confine ourselves to limitations and what people deem as acceptable and continue to hide who we are, we miss out on what we are designed to be, I believe. This may not be for everyone, but that's what I believe. And so I found that and I shared it because that's definitely a season that I'm in. You know, yes. I know there's parts of me that are unlovable. I know there's parts of me that are difficult to love. I know I can irritate people. I have flaws about myself, and I can pop off and curse with the best of them if you push me to that point. But one thing that I know I am fully capable of and that I've done is love people unconditionally.
Yes.
Anyone can walk in here part of any community and they will not be rejected, nor will I allow anyone. But when it comes to me and the way in which I present myself, I don't think that it is received by many that I thought would have, if that makes sense. So the glass shattering and the evaluation of the community in that dream kind of blaming me for it. Mm-hmm. I think that connects with my community, you know, and people around me who, you know, reject me for the parts of me that I feel comfortable enough at times to share. Yeah. That vulnerability piece we were talking about earlier and experiencing rejection around it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense, Tranyce, because when you think about glass as a symbol, glass is clear, it's see-through, it reveals, right? Like you're saying, all parts of us, but it also is a boundary. Like, yeah, it's right. So it's like, it is clear and it's see-through. So there's a level of just sort of like authenticity of like, this is what this is. Like, I am who I am, but there's also a boundary there. It's not just, I can't just move through it whenever I want to, however I want to. And so it was important in your dream that that glass be fixed. It was like, I want to be authentic. I want to love unconditionally and be loved unconditionally, but I also need there to be a boundary there. Right, it can't just be a free for all.
Right. That's so true. I'm at the point now where, you know, I'm more comfortable being who I am than any time in my life where I think I have. I've experienced bullying at early ages of life because I'm a nerd. Like, y'all know you know the deal with it. I'm a nerd. I was into art. I'm tall and I don't play much ball, but I can play. Don't get it twisted. I just was very annoyed with people assuming that that's what I did. And I've always been a bookworm. So my security was in libraries. I tell people all the time, no matter where I went, whether it was considered an inner city school, it was poor and, you know, had the worst of the worst kids, apparently, or the suburban area, because I went to school in Hendersonville, the libraries were always empty. So y'all tell me what type of kid is going where. I was always the one beating myself back to signing in at the library, okay? So I don't want to hear what people are based off of where they're located, because I've experienced people in different places and they all do the same thing at some point, or they have traits that we can relate to. But what I'm saying is like, I had to grow comfortable with walking in who I am, you know, despite any rejection that comes with it. I'm comfortable with rejection, but like walking in all of who I am means letting some people down, and that's okay.
That's right. I don't know about you, but I have felt myself really starting to step into that way of being for the first time, really like sort of easing into my 30s.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, like a lot of my 20s were still really trying to fit into like other people's boxes a lot of the time. I don't know. There's something about the 30s, man.
Well, that's encouraging, Jordan. Keep speaking. That's encouraging because, you know, you start nearing certain ages, and like my high school reunion was this year. And it's like, that's the 10-year reunion. Like, it's been 10 years since I've graduated. I
know.
So, you know, but you think about, I think about, you know, if it's been 10 years since I graduated, I ain't did half of the things I thought I was going to do at that age. And then we reaching 30 and people have these preconceived notions of what that looks like. So I'm encouraged by you saying that.
There's just a level of, I don't know, it reminds me of what you were saying earlier about sort of stepping into myself like more and more. And it makes me hope that like, okay, so maybe the 40s will be even more like, let's just keep this going.
Exactly. I tell people, man, the next 10 years, I want to enjoy myself. Don't come talking to me about children because I don't want any right now. Exactly. And that's okay. If it's okay with me, it should be okay with you. And if it's not, that's for you to figure out. I want myself. I've spent the past years trying to figure out and fix. I'm ready to enjoy my life, you know, see the world, experience people where they are, not where I think they should be.
Yes.
And just live, man. And give me some dogs. I'm closer to getting more dogs than I am ever having kids. Okay?
As a dog mom, yes, absolutely. 100%.
I gotta meet your baby.
Oh, she's so cute. Oh my God. But what you're describing, that's the glass. Like, that's you being like, this is me. Don't put your ideas on me.
Right.
That's the boundary.
Not who I should be with.
No.
Look, don't do any of that. Just experience me. That's what you need to focus on. Because see, this life, we all got our appointment date, right? It is so finite and limited already. Then you add all the societal things onto it, and you have to work through what you should pay attention to and what you shouldn't, which is another part of fatigue with activists. Is like you either have to be all on it all the time, or you're being complacent when you're not prioritizing it. I mean, I can't say how to balance that because some things are pressing, but I know for me, I don't care if this world is on fire. I'm going to go.
I need a break.
At the bank of a waterfall, stick my feet in the water, and I'm going to sit there for however long I need to.
Yes.
And the only thing I'll be worried about is sunblock getting on me if it's sunny out, to make sure I'm protecting myself.
Yes.
And nobody's going to make me feel bad about that because I've been there. I've literally left this community and have passed up neighbors who were standing in one spot, and I'd return no matter how later in the day, and they'd still be standing in the same spot. And that can be discouraging to you because before I open my mouth to judge them, I'm in this community with them. So what does that say about me? So whatever I was getting ready to say about them, I can say for myself is how I internalize that. But it can also be a problem if witnessing someone doing something, that's just not right. Some things we all can agree are not right. Murder, drug activities, all of that type of stuff. And you're trying to do good and you feel like it's not enough or you're not moving fast enough. So I try to encourage people when they come to me is, man, don't, if you ask my advice, it's going to always be to look inward and listen to yourself. Don't be limited to whatever this world tells you need to be focused on because that's not true. You'll waste your life away missing out on a lot of pretty moments.
Yes, because rest is resistance. Like joy is resistance. I tell a lot of people about the book Pleasure Activism by Adrienne Maree Brown. Are you familiar with that book? I feel like you would love that book, Tranyce.
Okay, put it on my list.
Yeah, put it on your library list. I don't know about you, but my to read pile is like hundreds of titles long at all times.
Girl.
So just add it to the pile.
Girl. Yeah.
I go to the library and I walk out with just like a huge like pile of books and they're all looking at me like, oh boy, good luck with that. Thank you so much for sharing that dream. That was a really powerful one.
My thing is what do you do after dreams when you feel like they are so insightful? Like what do you typically do when you've had a dream that shakes you? Do you go to calming yourself down? Do you write it down? Do you start to behave differently? Like, what do you encourage people to do when it's a dream like that?
Okay, I've got something good for you. I actually just read about this recently and I want to experiment with it more. So maybe we can experiment with it together. But so oftentimes what I'll do is I'll find I need two things. One is that I need some time on my own, my little introvert self, to just process and journal and just kind of be in my own like feelings about the dream. And for me, that usually looks like writing. It's just the most natural thing for me. So I almost always will write about it and just like be in my own kind of feelings about it. Usually for a while, like I'll need to revisit it like several times, you know what I mean? And then on the other side of the coin, I also often need to talk to somebody about it, like someone I trust, right? And so I find that being able to discuss a dream with someone safe and just do that sort of verbal processing that we do in therapy that often will lead to a little bit more of an insight because of the way my brain is working. So I find I often need both. The thing I just read about that I thought was really cool was this idea of incorporating like a ritual. So this is actually like an Eight of Pentacles thing. So this is about making my insights tangible. I'll give you an example. Let's say that I had a dream about basically needing to let go of maybe like a sense of materialism. Let's say that my insight I brought from the dream was that I've been bogged down too much in material things and seeking materialism, and that I need to get a little bit more focused inwardly. I need to get a little bit more focused on my community and less on accumulating stuff. Okay. So as a ritual to absorb the message of that dream, something that I might do is I might take some material object that, you know, I kind of cling to, and I might do what you do. I might sell it. I might get rid of it. I might decide like, I'm going to let go of this in a ritualistic way to kind of absorb that message. I'm going to create a little ritual, a little tangible way of saying to the universe and to myself, I'm listening. I hear this message. I'm going to do something about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing. I know. Me too. I'm going to experiment with that more for sure. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be a little, just as like lighting a candle and thinking about something. It doesn't have to be like a big to do, but doing some kind of physical ritual can be a really great way to like absorb that message.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
See, I already, as you were going through the list, you know, I told you last time I write a lot. Like that's my way of getting through.
Yes.
It's been my entire life. I'm a big journaler and everything.
Me too.
But then I've kind of made you my person to talk about my dreams with. Now think
Anytime.
About it. So, yeah, if you're game to be that.
You know, I'm always down.
So yeah, but that third piece I may have to do.
Yeah.
That's something.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That came from a book called Inner Work by Robert Johnson that I'm still like making my way through. But I literally just read that section the other day and I was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, you have to send me the books you reading.
Yes. I need to. You're right, Tranyce. Though I need to make a little Psyche Magic like book list. You know,
yes,
that's a good idea. That. Yeah, I should do that.
You already do a playlist, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so do the book.
Do a book list.
Come on, girl.
Oh my God.
Help us out.
I gotta help you guys out. No, it's really just the things that I'm nerding out about, honestly.
Right. But you don't know, like I'm nerding out about it now. You piqued my interest. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's so fun. Oh, Tranyce. Okay. Well, we are coming to the end of time. You're just a delight. Thank you. Aww. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just being so open with us about your work and your mission and what's going on in your world. Like, it sounds like there's a lot happening for you. So thank you for sharing a little slice of your life with us. And, please, now I would love it if you could just tell listeners how they can stay connected with you and your work, with True Talks, with Let's Talk Gardening. Like, how can they kind of keep up to date?
Yeah. So guys, I'm actually teaching at Amquist Market, the farmers market.
Nice.
So that's an Amquist station in Madison, Tennessee, if you're familiar with the area.
Yes.
Off of Gallatin Pike. That is every first and third Sunday. Being there as well, but I've pretty much sold everything. So just come to learn, you know, and then come with your gardening questions. But I may offer one more course before the year is out. So those are virtually and in person. If you'd like to learn more about my services, just visit www.letstalkgardening.net. On Instagram, trying to do some more garden tours. We kind of took a break since the pandemic, but we're back on it. First one is live, featuring Smiling Frogs Farm out of Hermitage, Tennessee. Check that out at let's_talk_gardening. And then True Talks podcast is going to be launching again. We're going to go once a month. I don't have the mental capacity to do like every 2 weeks.
That's so smart. No, that's smart. Yes.
Yeah, I can't. So yeah, get on there, guys. Be interested to listen to previous content, but we are going to start back up actually next week. I don't know what the Friday is, but our first mid-season premiere guest will be on there to launch us back off. And that's True Talk, spelled TRU podcast. And it's available everywhere. And then lastly, right now, guys, when I'm not podcasting the gardening, I'm doing a little bit of YouTubing. So
nice.
I like to run my series called Saturday Park Adventure on there. Told y'all I love nature and observing it. Come journey with me to some of Nashville and Tennessee greenways. We go into state parks and local parks. It's all about encouraging people to be active and appreciate what's around you and what's given to you without asking. And that's nature.
That's right.
So yeah, look for I Am Tranyce Productions over there.
Amazing. Okay, I'm going to put all this in the show notes as well. I didn't know about your YouTube
Girl, nobody knows everything. Look, Jordan.
I know.
You know enough. Trust me, you know enough.
You just got so much going on. And it makes me so happy that you want to share these different little slices of your interests and your world with us on these different like platforms. It's just, I want to follow them all. So I will.
It's less about me though. It's all about, man, just appreciate the world around you. Nature is so giving. Yes. Like, let's love on it. Let's plant some trees. Yo, and before I go, I got to plug this.
Yes.
Root Nashville has a phenomenal program and campaign going. We're trying to get 500,000 trees in ground in the Nashville area by 2050. I am a Root Nashville tree captain of the East Nashville area. It's still going. So each household can get up to 3 trees for free. They're all natives. We have one that's fruit bearing. So if you guys want just fruit ones,
incredible.
Get at me, email me at iamtranyce@yahoo.com or go to Root Nashville. I think it's .org.
I'll find it. I'll put it in the notes.
And get signed up for some trees, guys, because
why not?
We need to get them back because a lot of development and just natural catastrophes have interfered with our tree canopy here.
I was going to say that storm the other day even was really rough, and there were a lot of limbs and trees down. So yes, let's plant more.
Yeah.
Tranyce, I always walk away from conversations with you feeling so inspired and excited. Thank you. Thank you for everything. This was a delight. And let's definitely stay in touch, talk more soon. Let's go on a nature walk together. Let's go to like a park together.
Let's do it.
That sounds so fun. Let's go.
Absolutely. I'm gonna hold you to it in the same. Yes. I love talking with you, Jordan. I absolutely love talking with you. I learned so much, and I mean, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
It's not in vain, man. I love Psyche Magic. Oh man, so many good conversations over there. But yeah, you're a bright light in the sense that, man, you just talking to you and seeing you, you're always smiling and just encouraging folks. So I appreciate that, and I can't wait to walk with you.
Thank you, Tranyce. Oh,
you're welcome.
I am beaming. You're the best. That's a wrap for this episode. Thank you again to my guest, Tranyce Bryant. May your dreams continue to lead you deeper into the beauty of your authenticity. If you believe in this work and want to support the continuation of our show, please join us on Patreon. There, we are building a community where you'll find bonus dream work exercises, guided meditations, community events, and so much more. The link is in show notes. Don't forget, if you leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, you'll be automatically entered into a monthly contest to win a free 20-minute shadow work tarot session with yours truly. But please subscribe and rate us wherever you get your podcasts. It truly makes a difference and helps other people find the show. Do you have questions or a dream you want to share? Please drop me an email at psychemagicpodcast@gmail.com. You can also leave me a voicemail via the link in show notes. I'd love to hear from you, and you could be featured on a future episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at psyche_magic. Check out my Psyche Magic playlist on Spotify. Link is in show notes. Psyche Magic was produced and recorded by me, Jordan Hale. Editing for this episode is by Masuzu Inaga. Our theme music is by Young Summer. Artwork is by Annika Murphy. Special thanks go to Grace Fuse and Daniel Higby. You can check out information about this and other episodes on our website, psychemagicpodcast.com. Psyche Magic is available via Anchor across all podcasting platforms. Thank you so much for listening. I'll leave you with a question. If you must sleep through a third of your life, are you willing to sleep through your dreams too? Get your dream journals out, y'all. Until next time.